Hi gamers! Are you new to Final Fantasy XIV? Or maybe you're just getting to the point in the MSQ where you're starting to unlock the Crystal Tower raids. Or you've already done them and are scared to death about trying the next Alliance raids because you still have no idea what happened in there? You just kinda crossed your fingers and faked your way through it. Even I'm guilty of assuming a basic degree of raid knowledge with my raid guides. But what if Final Fantasy XIV is your first MMORPG? What if you don't know how to raid? In this video, I'm going to provide a basic Alliance raid education for new players, both to Final Fantasy and to MMOs in general. I'm going to try to cover as many things as possible in as great detail as required to get the general idea across. If you have any questions after watching, please let me know in the comments and I'll do my best to elaborate. I don't want to make this video too long or too intense. We'll go at a casual pace and try to make these raids a little less intimidating. I'm Debbie, and these are Alliance raids. Alliance raids are comprised of 24 adventurers, 3 parties of 8. These groups differ from regular raids and trials as each only has 1 tank. Instead, they have 5 DPS in addition to the traditional 2 healers. The reason for this is because, generally speaking, these raids are a combination of trash encounters and boss fights, and 3 tanks should be able to handle the hate in these encounters. If you are one of these 3 tanks, your job is to either A. Tank the main boss, i.e. be main tank, keep it pointed away from the rest of the raid at all times, and not die. Or B. Off tanks, not steal max enmity, or aggro, short from aggression, from the main tank, and doing this by either turning off your tank stance temporarily, or by managing adds in the encounter by tanking them instead, and sparing the other more squishy adventurers from damage. In situations where there are multiple enemies or adds, it's expected that all tanks have their stance on to mitigate damage to the rest of the raid. Having tanks fight over enmity on the main boss can cause difficulties for healers trying to keep up with the damage, and for the raid in general by causing large AoE attacks to appear in places unpredictably when suddenly the main tank changes. So though it might be fun to see if your Death Knight can really outdamage the Paladin, no matter who wins, the rest of the raid will lose, so please save that for PvP. Healers are the real MVPs of Alliance raids. While they're primarily responsible for healing their own party, when things go wrong, all healers are tasked with keeping the main tank alive, rezzing other healers from other alliances, even in the most dire circumstances, using the LB3 to res everyone. But we'll get more into limit breaks in a bit. If there are a few corpses from mechanics, red mages or summoners should be using their raises to help the healers, especially if there is ongoing damage or the raid's main tank is in their party. Use your swift cast and help get someone back on their feet, so the healer can continue keeping everyone else on theirs. The only job DPS have is not to die. Do the mechanics, dodge the AoEs, and make the enemies dead as soon as you can to make life easier for everyone else. While we're talking about composition, these are the Alliance parties. This is your Alliance letter. This is important for situations when the parties have to split up in order to achieve an objective. It's also important because treasure chests are also lettered and can only be opened by a member of that alliance. If these are too large, in the way, or competing for space on your screen, do not turn them off. Rather, make them smaller in your HUD settings and tuck them under your party list. If you need to click on a healer or tank in another alliance in an emergency, you'll really appreciate having these available. It's also important to see how many people are dead, if there are any healers or tanks alive, and the general raid status. In short, you need these bars to help you make informed decisions during the battle. Raid limit break. I told you we'd come back to this. Each alliance in the raid has their own limit break bar, but there are some unspoken rules regarding when LB can be used and who should be using it. Like any unspoken rules, some people disagree, but here's the general gist of it. Tanks. Tanks only use limit break during mechanics specifically designed for it. These are special, uber, earth-shattering attacks that unless the tank uses the 3-bar limit break, the raid will wipe. If you're not certain if one of those attacks is coming up, don't use it. Save it for another class. Healers. Healers only use Limit Break in the following 2 circumstances. First, the limit break is at 3 bars, and secondly, more people are dead than can be quickly raised by the living healers. Healer or healers. If both of these conditions aren't met, save off for now. Using the limit break before 3 bars is probably never going to be worth it for a healer, as it won't raise anyone who is dead and only gives back a percentage of player health. Melee DPS. Melee DPS only use the limit break against a solo boss who is less than 15 to 20% health. Before that point, the limit break is saved in case a healer needs it in an emergency. The last thing you want is to get a little premature with the limit break and a large portion of the raid dies in the next mechanic, and there's a wipe because of it. Ranged and caster DPS. These DPS generally only use the limit break in the event that the boss is below 15 to 20% health and has additional adds. Because the melee DPS limit break does more damage to a solo target, they get priority on using it. If the boss's health is dropping quickly below 15% and no melee DPS are in the party, or they're not engaging the limit break, that's generally the go-ahead for a ranged or caster DPS to use it. The limit break is rarely used at less than 3 bars, and usually then only at the end of the raid where it's obvious it will not reach 3 bars, and the last boss is nearly dead. If you're in doubt as to whether to use it or not, a mentor or experienced player in the raid will usually indicate in party chat for someone to use it. After you clear each boss, on your way to the next area, a shortcut device will come to life as the raid passes it. The flavor text is different in each raid, but the process is the same. There is an identical shortcut device at the start of the raid, and if you die, you can use that one to shortcut to the next one after the last defeated boss. Why is this important? It's a way to catch up to your party if you get lost, but also it's usually a better choice to release and use the shortcut if you're dead at the end of a boss fight than to be raised. Raising will give you the debuff, whereas releasing to the start of the raid and using the shortcut will not. This will leave you fighting fit and ready to take on the next room. So if you find yourself laying dead alongside the boss and are wondering why healers might be slow to get you back up, this might be what they're hinting at. After you release, head to the nearby device and wait for the message to appear in chat indicating the device comes to life, and then take it to be teleported instantly to the rest of the raid. It can be intimidating to use them, but once you get used to using it, it's a real time saver. Also, there's no fear of being locked out of a fight if you don't get there in time. If the arena is sealed, you are given an option box to teleport immediately to the sealed area 15 seconds after the fight begins. So, at worst, if you get completely lost, you'll get a free teleport to the fight after it starts. This doesn't work if you are in the fight and release before the fight is over. You will be locked out at that point until the fight is done, for better or for worse. Also, if you take the wrong left at any point, remember you can check your map to see where the rest of your alliance members are. They are the blue dots. Common mechanics. I have guides in the works to explain the specific mechanics of these raid fights, but here are some general tips. Oftentimes, knowing these general things will help you survive long enough to learn the fight on your own. 1. Don't stand in anything on the ground except for a stack marker. A stack marker looks like this. You stand in this. Anything else on the ground, no matter the color, is generally speaking not to be stepped in. Damage dealing mechanics are not always the AoEs you're used to seeing, but can be green, purple, red, slimy, fiery, multicolored, and pretty much any other shade under the sun. You might not know it until you see it, but take this as a general rule. 2. Take help when offered. You may not know this, but if you see a random person jumping up and down in a particular spot during a raid, they are trying to show you where you need to stand. Run to where they are. Also, if someone has a circle, triangle, or square above their head, they have been designated as someone who knows the mechanics, and if you get lost on where to be, follow them. These can be lifesavers, literally, for someone new to the raid, so learn the signs of someone trying to help. 3. If you see the A, B, and C way markers, it means you need to split up. Before passing this point, make sure you have checked your alliance letter and go down the right path. Failure to go to the right place may automatically cause a raid wipe, so everyone needs to check. 4. Many raids have a mechanic where a boss will become invulnerable for a time until a certain condition is met. Make sure you are paying attention to your flying text occasionally to confirm you are actually doing damage to the boss. If others seem to move away and you check your damage and are getting the invulnerable message, you probably need to go hit something else. 5. This is where the boss's cast bar lives. If they start to cast something that seems to be taking a long time to go off, that's usually a wipe mechanic. It gives you that long to figure out what objective you have to complete in order to survive the attack. In this situation, it's totally okay to look over at your alliance members and see what they are doing. Chances are very good you should be doing that too. 6. These numbers next to your name and party indicate your enmity position on your current target, with A meaning you currently have aggro, i.e. the monster is currently hitting you. If something were to happen to A, the monster would go down the list starting at 2, then on to 3, and so on. These icons here show your threat relative to every currently engaged monster, with red meaning you have aggro, and this enmity level decreasing through orange to yellow, and then finally to teal, indicating that you are practically safe at the moment. Finally, look at these amazing patrons. I am so floored by their generosity. Times are tight for everyone right now, so their support means so much to me. Their contributions are making this channel better for everyone, by allowing me to continue to upgrade my gear. Better gear for me means better videos, and better videos ultimately make better players. So I can't thank them enough on behalf of everyone. But to carry on. 7. Read Alliance Chat. Okay, I know most of the time it isn't going to be helpful, or it scrolls too fast, or is just people commenting on glamour or a movie, but sometimes it is people like me giving tips for the boss, or to let people know about an upcoming mechanic, or to give a gentle reminder that a mechanic is currently not being done and a wipe could happen if people don't change course. That's why it's important you keep the chat up and that you try to keep your eye on it. I know there's a lot to look at, especially during a raid, and it's hard for a new player to keep tabs on all of it, on top of your rotation and dodging AoEs, but it will get easier with practice. No one will ever expect you to be perfect, and I've never been in an alliance raid without at least a few deaths, so don't stress. Even someone who's been playing for years will still occasionally make a mistake. That's why I have a deaths counter on my stream. It wouldn't even be a thing if it didn't happen very often. Just try not to take it personally. We Warriors of Light have the echo for a reason. I hope you learned at least a few things from this video. It was a community suggestion from someone in the comments of one of my raid guides. I wanted to let everyone know, again, that I absolutely value your feedback. If you have an idea for a video, please let me know. I want to make content that is valuable to you. And for those apricotters out there, don't pass on raid gear even if it's way under your level. Need what you can and greed what you can't. It can be turned in for a very decent amount of seals at your gun company, which can be used to buy things way more valuable. Want some ideas? Well, things like ventures, glamour prisms, survival manuals, and material containers are 4 of the most desired options. If you're interested in what you might be able to get in a chest, I'll be making a video where I unbox a whole bunch of them to see. Thank you so much for watching, gamers, and I will see you in game.